provocative, informative dialogue rooted in self-evaluation, empathy, and humility. That is the foundation of When Black Men Talk. Thank you for
Mm.
giving us an ear. I'm Mark Elliott, been your host for quite some time, and continue, hopefully, be a host for many more years to come. I'm going to take us back a little while, back in time. I'm going to say something, and hopefully it jogs something in your memory, a little thought. The practice of working for social change without causing harm to others under any condition. Give that a thought for a second or two. Nonviolence. The movement prevalent during the civil rights era. How many years ago that was? Sometimes we have to stop and think about that movement because we all are benefiting from it. So we should always kind of retrace back to it and give it some thought. And recently I came across a center here in Connecticut that I wasn't aware of, but it's the Connecticut Center for Nonviolence, CNTN. And when I came across this, I said to myself, really, I want to do my homework and hopefully get someone to come on. And fortunately, I have someone to come on from CNTN. It's the Director of Police and Community Engagement, Senior Trainer, Pastor John Lewis. Good morning, Pastor John Lewis. How are you?
Good morning. How you doing, sir? It's a blessing and honor to be with you this morning and your audience.
We're doing well, man. We're doing well. We are excited to have you here. Well, let's go to the basic premise of Connecticut Center for Nonviolence.
Yes. So first of all, you know what? Now I know what they mean when somebody says that, you got a radio voice. You have a radio voice. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. You have that voice that captures the person's attention. So now I know what they mean by when they say that. But the Connecticut Center for Nonviolence, I got back in 2014. That's when I got trained, and that's the first time that me ever being introduced to it. But it began with Miss Victoria Kriskow, which is the director and the founder of the Connecticut Center for Nonviolence, which Dr. Bernard Lafayette, who was a strategist for Dr. King, was the one that gave her the go-ahead and to begin the center up here in Connecticut. I know that her and Dr. James Lane, he's another lead trainer. He does all the programming and everything, which he's based up in Hartford. But he puts together the program and many other things. He really is a wordsmith. Very, very strategic in his planning. But it's like I said, it's been since 2007, I believe, or 2009. I got trained in 2014. What we do is that we teach the philosophy of nonviolence, Dr. King's philosophy, which Bernard Lafayette and David Ginsing were the ones that created this book. It's called Kingian Nonviolence, and it has the strategy of the nonviolent movement of Dr. King back in the civil rights movement. And so they was able to comprise a book. And we've been teaching from that book since, again, Miss Victoria started in me since 2014, getting trained at a 2-day core. I was doing the work, not knowing I was doing the book. Nonviolence is really normal. What we're living in is an abnormal society of violence. And so what the book, the training, the center does is really give you language for you really becoming normal in a society that's riddled with violence. So now it was able to give me language of engagement, being able to set conversational platforms to go into certain settings, schools, police departments, all of that. And so when you really get trained in this, and I hate to call it a training, but when you engage in this this work, it really does work on you first. It really does give you the proper emotional thought process for you first. It works on, if you don't get it, you can't give it. It really does bring that place of conflict management for yourself first. And it has the steps, it has the principles, it has the levels of conflict, it has the history, it has the strategy, everything that is in this book. It's unbelievable. And it's so simple that it's hard to grasp. That's what it's so simple that it's hard to grasp. You mean this is what it is? And it's not, it doesn't put out fires. What it does is plant seeds, because we have to reverse what we've been living in. And what this does is give you the proper process and the engagement of words and thoughts that you can start to plant that seed and allow life's experience to germinate. So the Center for Nonviolence is not just a training opportunity. It's a life-changing opportunity, I like to say. And it really does help grow the individual. So that the center, and Miss Victoria could give her own testimony. As she said, she was a young lady. She said that she was watching the assassination of Dr. King when she was younger, and that just struck something in her. And ever since then, it's just been a passion of her to really want to see change in this world. And most of us are like that. Most of us that are part of the center have been impacted one way or the other. Dr. Lane could give his story. Many others that get connected with will be able to give it. Those that stay with it. Let me make that clear. Not just those that want to visit and do a drive-by. I'm talking about those that become committed to it and committed to the change for themselves and want to see society change. They all have their testimonial story of the why I'm involved and why we must do this. I'm not just talking about people that just want to sit in and treat it like a training. I'm talking about people that embrace it as a change of life. Make sense?
Wow. Oh man, makes a lot of sense, man. Wow. I want to delve into some of the things that you said, but I want to go back to Benjamin Lafayette Jr. Because when you said he spoke to, I believe, Victoria, and let's learn a little more about him. And I don't think we understand much about this gentleman. And I understand there's a book out, but let's kind of go through the bio of one Bernard Lafayette Jr., please.
Yeah, with Dr. Bernard Lafayette, he was, again, he passed away a couple months ago. I believe he was 80-something years old, but he was still involved. He was still going to do trainings. They still had him on Zooms. I mean, he's a legacy within himself. Again, he walked with Dr. King and worked with Dr. King. There's photos of him with Dr. King even during some demonstrations. He was right by his side at those times. So this was a living legend that we were able to embrace and to experience and to sit down with us and to talk to us and have that experience. It's almost like history sitting down with you, telling the story. He was a great storyteller. He knew how to captivate, you with the experiences that he himself had at that time, and then things that he was able to really, engage with. He was a freedom rider. Again, he faced beatings and jail time. He had death threats, like all of them, even back then. After the movement, he committed to codifying what we have today as Kingian nonviolence, the practice of nonviolence, that he was able to create the curriculum with David Jensen and put that all together for us today to be able to practice. And so, again, there's a book that he written. I have the book. I forgot the name of it. And Miss Victoria would do even a better job at, giving more information. And listen, the people can go into the website of the Connecticut Center for Nonviolence. There's footage of Dr. Lafayette breaking down the 6 principles. And there's other clips that we have of the engagement with Dr. Lafayette, but I'm not doing him no justice at all based on the person that he was and still is in us. Again, the legacy passes on to us once we grab it and live with it. But again, he has a book out, and I encourage people to pick it up. And then also, he was the one that told Miss Victoria to go ahead and begin the center. And we got to institutionalize. He said, Dr. King said, we got to institutionalize nonviolence in the schools, in the system. And that's exactly what the Center of Nonviolence have been doing. Dr. King told Bernard Lafayette to institutionalize nonviolence into the system, and he told Miss Victoria to institutionalize nonviolence in the system. And from that there, we have been able to do that and develop that. We're in the police system, we're in the school system, we're in the clergy, we're in the community, and it continues on. It continues on.
I want to ask this, man, because in life, a lot of times, as individuals, we meet people that we look up to. A lot of times, as celebrities, sports stars, whatever, and we feel a certain way. We hold them to a certain level. We put them on a pedestal. But you had the honor and the privilege to meet a gentleman and work with a gentleman that helped basically change this country for the better. Realistically, man, how did it feel, and when you met him, and to basically, work with him for a period of time? How did that strike you?
It felt possible. Because remember, you have living history in front of you that was back in the day in the civil rights movement. So him standing in front of you, teaching you, conversating with you, engaging you, it connected you. It connected you and let you feel not just what he's saying, but where's he saying it from, the experience of that. You understand? I wasn't back in the civil rights movement. I wasn't there when they walked and was protesting. I wasn't there when the cops was beating on them. I was not there when they had to face all kind of verbal and physical abuse. But he was here with us and giving us those stories. He was able to bring it there. And so it made it surreal. It made it surreal. And it made you understand that peace is possible, that nonviolence works. And so that same energy, that same expression, that same thing that he's given to us, it doesn't disconnect us. It connects us. It allows us to be connected to the history also, though we were not there. It makes a smooth transition right into who you are as a person. Because again, he's there with you. So it's different than reading about him in the book. It's definitely different being in the presence. I could say that even when I could imagine what the disciples were, when they walked with Jesus. I just don't understand why they couldn't get it. But anyway, they walked with him and they would, you understand? And
I
they watched
understand.
the thing. Yeah. But with Doc, it was just that powerful, man. I got pictures of sitting down, just having a gym, and he just was a normal person. And he let you know, I'm just a normal person like you're a normal person. But we have a passion, we have a commitment, we have an assignment. And he was a believer. Doc was a believer. So he understood we have an assignment and we got to fulfill that assignment for the breath of our life. He was a soft-spoken person, but yet the softness never diminished his authority. It was there in his words and what he said. Very powerful.
Wow. I want to go into something you said earlier. And when you said that nonviolence, and we don't hear this, and I might be misinterpreting the way I bring it back or mistaking the way I bring it back, but you're saying how nonviolence is our normal way. But society, in so many words, have basically moved us into a violent way of thinking and handling things. And when you just stop and say that, and that sounds, simple when you say it, but we're so far away from nonviolence. It's not that simple because we have been preached and shown in so many ways, violence is the answer. Violence is the answer. And it's been pushed down. It's kind of been ingrained into our psyche by various different things. So when I hear nonviolence, sometimes, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, we think, okay, how does that play in current day 2026? How does nonviolence fit into 2026, Pastor John Lewis?
So I want to say when I first heard the term nonviolence, because it didn't set well with me, and I want to say, I wasn't always a saint. I wasn't always a pastor and an apostle. So let me get that straight. Okay, let me make sure I put that out there. So, but because if you hit me, I'm gonna hit you. So but nonviolence, when I first heard it, I didn't understand it. Because to me, nonviolence, my understanding was like it was almost cowardice. You understand what I'm saying? It didn't really, you don't want to be nonviolent. No, I'm going to protect myself. But I had to understand nonviolence is not the opposite of violence. Nonviolence is the harness for us to address violence. It harnesses and gives you a strategy to be confronted. It's courageous. As a matter of fact, it's easy for me to be violent to you if you're violent to me, eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, but it gives you the ability to respond in a thoughtful process. Now, again, I teach martial arts, and so there's a difference in self, when again, you protect yourself or self-defense. You can throw a punch at me and I don't have to strike you back. I can just let that energy go where it's going and you keep on going. So I don't have to strike you. I don't have to, engage in a confrontation with you. I just let that negative energy keep on flowing. As a matter of fact, some of the nonviolent strategists, they knew Aikido, and Aikido is just allowing that motion to continue on. So nonviolence is not for coward. Matter of fact, I believe Gandhi says something like, if you're a coward, then nonviolence is not for you. It's not for those that are cowards. When you look at Gandhi, when you look at what they had to face, nonviolence is for strategists. Nonviolence is for those who have a plan and who understand that there's a goal ahead. And there's no need for you it'll be hard for you to grasp nonviolence if you ain't got a goal. One of the principles is accept suffering without retaliation for the sake of the cause to achieve the goal. Well, you're not going to accept suffering, uncomfortability, disturbing someone coming in and being violent towards you if you ain't got a goal in mind, if you don't have nothing before you. So nonviolence is not for cowards. Nonviolence is for those that are courageous. It's easy to do to somebody what they've done to you, but to have consideration for that other person, or to have a goal in mind that you want to bring peace back into humanity, because violence has been the way of life especially in America. Look at the what is that? The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, all of that, bombs bursting in the air and all of this. Come on, everything has been founded or that has been brought back through violence. And so we have adopted that mindset, but deep in each and every individual and every human being, there is the normality of nonviolence. Nonviolence is not cowardice, it's strategic. And that we will approach the situation in love and understanding that that person's a human being just like I'm a human being. But something happened, not what's wrong, what happened, that person winds up like that. So it gives you a different thought process. It doesn't make you a coward. It makes you be able to consider what is going on and think about what you're doing before you do it, before you react. Reaction is instinct, but when you respond, it's more of a thought process. I got something to respond with. Does that make sense?
Makes plenty of sense. Yeah, plenty of sense. And realistically, it would take us, if we were to adopt that in our daily lives, realistically, pull that in and harness that in our daily lives, our lives would be so much different.
Oh, yes.
Think about how many people, there's so many numbers of people that basically respond within a matter of seconds that changes their whole life.
Oh, my God.
Something happens and the impulse is to respond. And then now the rest of your life has changed for years based on you just didn't take the time to pull back and simply think and take a nonviolence approach. Some of those principles that you're speaking on to basically work through that. I would venture to say a lot of our jails will be empty.
Oh, my goodness.
A lot of the burial homes would not have some of the bodies laying there right today if we would basically use that approach. And and as I both spoke to, it's been really pushed upon us to be violent, to react, to do this eye for an eye. It's been basically there. And when you're programmed and you're basically waiting for that wick to be lit, when that wick is lit, you're basically ready to go. And especially as men, I feel we have to pull back. We really do. We're always, most of the times, we're the aggressor. And we have to pull back and look at ourselves and understand we need to find better ways to resolute, find better ways to handle situation. And a lot of men over the years have gotten caught up in their emotions first. We don't
Yes.
think, we feel, and we go on the feeling of, okay, I have to. And a lot of times I have to is to speak to the identity that I've basically given myself. I can't allow anyone to basically step onto that. With that being in mind, or being said, this right here to me is huge. What you do, the director of police and community engagement, escort us through the mechanisms behind being the director of police and community engagement, and what sort of things you do, what sort of things you come across in doing such.
Now, and definitely I want to take you to that, but I want to also connect with you with what you were just expressing about the nonviolence piece and how we, as especially men, we're more reactionary, and then we react to stuff opposed to respond to stuff. Now, remember, there's something that I believe the psychologists call a cellular memory, and what it says is that without a child ever being or knowing its parents and being separated from its parents, but yet if they're put in the same environment of their parents, that child will respond, if it's not taught nothing different, similar to the way that the parents respond. Now remember, the violence is generational. It's not just given to you. It's in the DNA. It is in the DNA of a child being born in a world of violence, a system of violence, a system that's structurally violent towards a particular people or its community or whatever. Remember, and so there's things that are continuously put up to subliminally give that child the ability to react the way that generations were before that child. And so if we don't put nothing in place, if we don't start to till, because that seed of nonviolence, that who we really are is buried. It doesn't go away. It is buried under layers of violence. It's buried under layers of things that have been given to generations before that child. But that nonviolence, that's who we are. Again, according to the Bible that I embrace and the word of the Lord that I embrace, we're creating the image and likeness of God. Even if you're not a believer, you got to believe in something greater than yourself being violent. And so, again, I don't discriminate against people's persuasion, whatever faith they may be, if they ain't got no faith. But you got to believe you're better than what you see, and so that you can have something to strive for. But with that said, we have to understand that it doesn't go nowhere, but you have to feed it. You have to feed it. And with the police and community engagement, that was one of the things that I was struggling with back in 2013, 14, especially in New Haven. We had, we had a lot of violence that was going on. I come out of the 80s and the 90s when I had my experience in the streets, hustling and selling drugs and being caught up in that lifestyle. And then we had some murders back then. We had some interaction of negative things going on in the community, which I, again, am honored to be a person now to be able to give back to my community that I participated in, doing some things that possibly put it in the place that we're trying to fix today. So I thank God for that opportunity. However, in that time that I got involved with the Center for Nonviolence, we started to see police brutality. And so here you got a community that's riddled with violence, that you have those young men in the urban communities committing crimes to one another, taking each other's life. Then on top of that, we have officers coming into the community that's not like the community, that's not from the community, and not understanding how to address the community, now making it worse. And so I had a negative encounter with a police officer on the boulevard, and a young man had got sprayed with pepper spray. And I've been doing community activist work now, mind you, but I did not have that connection with the police department or anything like that until after the fact. I really got connected. But what happened was a young man got sprayed with mace. I was already a pastor. I was in a community activist already. And for a while. And so I would happen to be there, and the young man got sprayed with mace, and then the police officer was like, stay still or stop moving around. I said, sir, he just got sprayed with mace. He said, be quiet. Who are you? I'll spray you. I'm like, what? That right there didn't settle with me. Now, here I am. Now, when I was living wrong, it's one thing for the police to chase me or have to, apprehend me. I'm doing something right, and I'm just trying to engage here in a healthy way, but yet you want to treat me just like somebody that's a criminal? No, that don't work. Now, I could have got into my feelings, or I said to myself, there's got to be a better way. And that's when I got introduced to the Connecticut Center for Nonviolence. And from that moment of 2014, I was able to meet with the police chief because, again, I was already an activist. I was able to have a conversation with some of the officers that I knew. I brought the idea to them, and we sat down. I believe it was Esterman at that time, Chief Esterman in the New Haven PD, and Chief Casanova. Assistant Chief Casanova, I believe it was. And I was able to sit down with them and then do a training of the de-escalation training with police and community engagement. We was able to do a training. We trained the officers because it's a trainer module. We had officers that got trained in it and trained with us. I believe it was Jackie Hoy, Pat Helliger, Sam Brown. There was a couple other people, Sherelle, who's still a part of Sherelle Carr, who's still a part of the New Haven PD. And we was able to get them trained, and now they train along with us. Some of them still work along with us, but it's the police and community engagement. It's the rules of engagement conversation. So we host community conversation utilizing the nonviolent strategy. So you don't just attack the person, you frame the issue, you address the issue, you stay right there with the situation. A lot of times it spills out all over the place. The police have to know and understand the community that they're engaging with. And if they don't know that, then they're going to approach it in fear. What's they're trained in the academy. So my job as a community member is not to attack the police. Let me help them understand what they're coming into. Therefore, they can't say they didn't know. See, you can't say that you didn't know what you was walking into. You never experienced it. My job is to give you a community experience to the best way that I can, so you'll know the community that you're policing if you're not from that community. And build relationship. If you're not from that community, the best thing is to build a relationship. So I help them engage with the community. We have community meetings, community meetups. So the police that police those areas, they need to know the community before a 911 call. And we've been able to do that. I've been able to engage with that. And so right now today, all the cadets that come through the police department has to come through the nonviolence training before they hit the streets.
Wow.
We've done the LPD.
Wow.
We also done the state police. We've trained, I go do the state police when they got new recruits coming in. So we've still been building on it. It really is powerful because at the end of the day, they're people, they're human beings. And so I can't, and I say this, and I say this very carefully, and I would not ever say it in the setting with police and community there. You got to be wise in your approach. But I tell the community, what do you expect from an officer coming into a community where y'all killing each other? So he's supposed to come and say, howdy doody, how you doing? Hey, what's going on? No, I'm serious. But I would never say that in the setting of police and community. I mean, he's coming in. If y'all don't care about yourself, why would you care about me? I mean, that could be his mindset. And then what he's being fed from social media. You understand? And then with the community, what we have to understand is that, again, as well as we don't want to be profiled, let's not profile every police officer. You got to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm not saying there's no corrupt police officers. There are corrupt police officers, but there's good officers too. They are a person. So our job as given training, the conflict management, reconciliation, police and community engagement, is to make sure the officer does not lose the humanity once he puts on the uniform, because that's the problem. You got culture of policing that buries the humanity of a person, and we got to balance that out.
That how to do thing to crack me up. But no, it's to me, I still find, and you went where I want to go with this. I want to thank you for all the work that you've been doing and the work that you will do, because it's needed. It's really, really needed. And a lot of us sometimes know this, but don't act and do anything about it. You, sir, Pastor John Lewis, you have done more than enough about it, man. And I applaud you. Again, I'm happy to have you here to share this, because this is type of stuff that we don't hear about. You know, you're a soldier out there basically battling, and we don't hear about these type of soldiers. We don't hear about people like you out there really doing the work that's necessary. So thank you for sharing that with us. But I want to go back to what I chuckle about when you said, like, in our community about howdy doody, because realistically, there's a side that, yes, what you're doing with the police is admirable. Very. Yes, but when it comes down to the community, what are you coming across when it comes back to the community? Because there's two sides. It's like any story, there's two sides. So if you've done work with the community, and which have you seen in our community, what's going on, let's speak to that some.
Yes. So again, it stems back. There's violence, there's structural violence too, that the system has been set up, and we can go all the way back to where we talk about slavery and all of that stuff, even though people say that, well, I wasn't there. And this is the why factor. Now, understand this, nonviolence, let me go back further. Number one, let's be clear on something. Dr. King and most of the leaders of nonviolence had a spiritual foundation. Now, that doesn't say in order for you to do nonviolence, it requires you to have a spiritual foundation. That is not what I'm saying. So let me be clear on that. However, you have to have something that can have self-care connected to it, because it is absolutely hard when you are trying to do. Jesus had a moment. Let me get biblical for a minute. He had to step away. He said, Father, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but let thy will be done. And so you have to have some kind of spiritual fortitude or something that's going to encourage you to push further beyond the pain, the rejection from the very people that you're coming to help. And so Pastor Lewis, used to be a drug dealer and all that. So now you the police, or you helping the police. They don't care about us. They ain't never care about us. But I'm saying, do y'all understand? You wouldn't have to have overtime police if you police yourself and your emotions and your behavior. The reason why they're there is because what y'all do to each other. They're looking at you. They can't engage with you in the behavior that you're having right now. They got to be welcomed in the community, because the way the behavior has been most of the time, it's been a 911. And so what do you expect? How do you expect for them to engage with you? We have self-hatred, but that's all stems from the systemic racism that is in the system. And while we are triaging that from the spiritual leaders and the leaders that we're supposed to have in our community, we can't afford to have police coming in not understanding that we're in the ER. That we're right now in the ER working with our people. And we got to help our people understand that the thing that you are hating right now is not the person that you're murdering, because I call it reflective suicide. Because I'll kill anything that looks like me opposed to put the gun to my head. That's something you're killing what you hate in you. Because there's a white person, I don't mean to use color, but a person of a non-color of the community that they live in is safer to walk into the community than my own black son to walk in a community of people that look like him. They're more safer to walk down the street and not be accosted or messed with, opposed to somebody that looks like the very community that person is walking in. And so it is self-hatred. And so what we have to help them understand is how to love themselves. We have to help restore value back into them. We got to help restore a place where they can really start to see their worth. Because if not, then we're going to continue on to get this. And what I'm attempting, what the church, let me just be clear, because I'm qualified to say this, not just because of me being a believer, but in the church circle as an apostle, as a general. of the order, let me just say this. As the church, we are supposed to be interceding and engaging in turning this thing around. We're supposed to open up our doors to help these young men and young women and families understand their worth, because it's going to take the church. And Dr. King understood that. It's going to take the church to come outside of its four walls to engage with this social problem that we're having. Stop trying to get members to your church and create followers of Christ from the love that exudes from you. He said, with loving kindness have I drawn them. They never walked through my church door. I've impacted their life with love. And giving them that love is going to help them understand the value of themselves. We have a church on every corner where we got murder on every corner. Open up the doors. Those are the transitional hospitals. Those are the learning hubs. Those are the places where we can start to engage and stop this violence in our community. There ain't no help coming. We the help. We the help. You can't expect people to value us more than we value ourselves. I'm not excusing bad behavior, but I'm saying we got to look and understand who we are. Love each other first. And then they will treat you differently. No one's going to value you if you don't value yourself. And I'm not saying that it's right for them not to do that. But don't expect nobody to do to you or to treat you differently than you treat yourself. So we got to get our young people. Our young people right now, most of them never even got engaged in any structural positive conversation. We have hip hop. We have social media raising our kids today. It's different. It's different. And so they're not going, you can't ask them to stop what's normal to them if you don't create an environment that can give them another view of who they are. Does that make sense?
Come on, Pastor John Lewis. I'm not going to answer the question this time, man. You know you're making too much sense, man. You know you're making way too much sense. You know that you are. And, you know, as I started off saying earlier, provocative, informative dialogue. And I mean, really, it's, you know, it's amazing. You say so much. I'm just sitting here taking it all in. But when I want to go to what you said about coming out, the ministers coming out, there's a church in every corner. And you're saying a lot of things that I and other people have thought before too, is that, and this is not to point fingers, it's not, but you're preaching to the same people every Sunday. Yes. It could be 100, it could be 400, whatever. You preach to the same people, and half of them ain't getting it in the first place. I ain't gonna lie to you. Half of them, they're just there because they believe it should be there. Yeah. But all this is going around outside your doors, and you drive in, you leave, and you act like it's not happening. Yeah. It's not happening. Yeah. And realistically, it's going to take a community of all of us to bring us back where we need to be, to understand where we are. And a lot of times we turn our back if it's not related to it. No, it's going to take a community of all of us. So not in important figures, but I love what you stated. I love because there are certain ones that are called to do this. And if you stand up and say you're called, then that's what you should be doing. Yes. You're not called to do half. You're called to do full. Yes. And that is my reaction to it.
Yeah, and we have qualified navigators. I'm a qualified navigator. I'm not being arrogant about it, but the very people we need to reach, I come from that. And so, in other words, God equipped me. That's why I'm here today. I've been through the terrain. And so don't hate on me. Connect with me. Everybody in the nonviolent movement didn't go on the front line. Some folks said, nah, they hit me, I'm going to hit them back. But that don't mean that they wasn't part of the movement. They prepared sandwiches in the back room. They was able to do other stuff, make copies of papers and stuff. They didn't get on the front line, sat at the counter. They didn't get on the front line with the dog getting bit and all that. But they still was a part of the movement. They didn't interrupt the movement. As a matter of fact, there was fights and disagreements within the circle there of Dr. King. I believe it was James Bevel. Dr. King didn't agree with them children being a part of the march, but he didn't step out and say that they shouldn't do it. He just said that he didn't agree with it, but he let it go on. And then as things started to move forward, even so, he said to them, parents that was worried about their children, I believe he said something like, your children are doing what they got to do. They're going to be all right. So again, the problem with us is that if you not, in other words, there's 3 levels of power. There's power over, there's power with, and there's power within. In the Black community, unfortunately, and in the hierarchy of the church, we only know how to work in the hierarchy of the church of the power over. We don't know how to come out of the church and have power with the community. So that's the problem. When you come out of the church, you want to have power over people opposed to power with the people that you're supposed to reach. Jesus didn't act like he had power over. He had power with. Who I am, you are also. Greater works you'll do than I. And so I want to speak to those individuals now, again, on their behalf. Everybody's not equipped. That doesn't mean you can't be a part. Okay, because you don't have an evangelistic heart, that doesn't mean you can't be a part. You could be a strategist. You could have other techniques that you could work with. It's about unifying together. Every joint supplies. Every joint supply, but it can't just be your denomination, can't just be your church. There's power in unity. It's power in unity. And when I teach, and also I hope everybody get my book. I got 2 books coming out, so I'll be publishing them very soon. One of them is Christ in Us, the Hope of Glory. They gave you religion, he gave you himself. And the other one is Nonviolence, Advancing the Kingdom in the Earth. And it's all the strategy, everything that Dr. King talked about, but from being able to be taught to the church so that we can understand the strategy from a biblical foundation. Because Dr. King did not do it from a biblical foundation. He wanted to connect with the social part of it, but everything he did was from the premise of Christ. He just didn't put scripture out in the atmosphere. He allowed the scripture to be embraced by the way he lived. And so now the book will be able to give scriptural content to the nonviolence movement and understanding so that we can now interface with the community and help build our beloved community as the framework for the future, which is the 2nd principle of the 6 principles of nonviolence. And so I said all that to say some people are not equipped, but I'm saying to every pastor, every leader, you got young people, you got somebody in your church that have a passion for the streets or have a passion for the community. Connect them with me. Connect them with us that are doing something. And that way your church is connected. You ain't always got to be the lead. And that's the problem. That they always, the leaders want to be in the lead. No, you have passionate people that want to be connected to the community. Let us come together and work this thing. Let's do what we got to do, because that's the Great Commission. Go ye out and make disciples of men, not get church members or get people to be a part of your congregation. We are supposed to advance the kingdom of God in the earth as it is in heaven. And that doesn't mean quote scripture. That means, like Paul said, become a living epistle read of men, that they will feel the impact of the transformation, not from conversation, but from the life that you live. And that they just know, they will just feel the love. And that's what it's supposed to be. Love is supposed to be the result of you being a student of the word.
I'm just going to let that sit for a second or two now. Let that just sit right there. Because sometimes you don't have to say anything. What I want to do here is zero in on some principles of nonviolence.
Yes,
and
sir.
what I chose to do is look at the 4, because I looked at when I looked at CTCN's website and was learning more, there's 6 principles to nonviolence, but there was 4 that focused and were centered around children.
Yes.
And I wanted to go there and get your response to those 4. I'll start out with the beloved community is the goal for the future.
Yes, sir. So the beloved community is not a fantasy, it's a moral destination. In other words, it's a consciousness. It's defined as a society based on justice, equal opportunity, and love for one another. So when we think about the beloved community as the framework, that means it's not there yet. But I am a part of the paint. I'm the paintbrush that's going on the canvas of called community. The beloved community. The community is the canvas. I am the brush. What am I adding onto the canvas? So my conduct, my character, my love, my connection, all of that. We want to add onto the canvas. You are that brush. For children in high violence environments, this vision gives the suffering meaning. Children without a vision of the future will live only for the dangerous moment. Every adult must daily ask, am I building towards the beloved community or away from it? So we need to make sure everything that we do is adding on to a positive picture, a picture of unity, of love, of connectiveness. Our children are more visual until they become more articulate in language. So we got to make sure everything that we do is done through the expression of love, because they will pick up what you not saying. So you got to do it from the right intention. So the beloved community is the goal for the future. We have to establish it. They got to know it. We got to give them the opportunity to be connected to it. That the children will listen. When you 9 and 10 years old, our babies have not been able to be children. I got 13, 12-year-old youth right now that are connected to some murder or connected to a friend that got murdered because they never was able to be young people. So I bring them into an environment, I don't give them nothing deep, no program. I let them be kids. I got them in an environment so they could be young people. That's natural, but they don't have the opportunity. That's the beloved community for the youth.
Beautiful. This one here hits in a lot of different ways, but again, we're keeping the focus on children, but you can spread this like peanut butter when it says attack problems, not people.
So that one is attack on that's the child version, and the adult version attack the forces of evil, not the person doing evil. See? And so in this here, children are often taught by trauma, environment to attack the person, not the problem. The culture of street violence is entirely built on attacking people rather than conditions. Separating the person from the problem is one of the most powerful conflict tools we can give youth. The young man who pulled the trigger is not the problem. He is a person caught in the problem. Aim energy at cycles, systems, and conditions, not at each other. What is our job as an adult? Attack the system. What's our job to help the youth? Let's keep them separated, create environments of enjoyment, environments of peace. Let's make sure that we connect them to nature. Because right now, most of our youth don't get outside of their environment. They smoking weed, they hear gunshot, they listen to rap music, take away the phones, take away all of that. Let's get them into a positive environment while we simultaneously address the system that does not educate them or give them the proper tools to navigate through society. So attacking the forces of evil, what's the force? The system, unjust system. Unjust laws. We as adults, as leaders, have to address that while we give our children an opportunity to be children. You cannot teach a what are you going to teach a 13, 12, and 11, 10-year-old kid to do? How are you going to program that kid? You can't. We need to create safe environments. That's what I'm saying. Open up the church doors so that we can have an environment that they can come and have safe conversation, that they can come and play with each other, engage, that they can come and do after school homework, that youth will be able to encourage other youth. That's our job to do that. The society talking about, oh my God, what we going to do with these young people? Let them be young people. Give them the environment to be young people in and give them reflective teachers, meaning those that look like them helping them. I'm not taking nothing away from other culture and people. We love the assistance. We will all work together, but there has to be a balance, because that young black kid needs to see, that young black male needs to see another black male, positive black male helping them, because that's a reflective visual. They need to see that. It has nothing to do with race. But if they don't see the majority or balanced visual of them being a young black girl or a young black man, and have adult black men and adult women that are interacting with them, that visual's not really a reality. They feel the love from other culture of people, which is a powerful thing, but they got to see themselves what they look like when they grow up. Does that make sense?
Come on, Pastor. Come on. You're killing me. You're killing me. The next one is know and do what is right, even when it's difficult.
It says that one for the adult is accept suffering without retaliation for the sake of the cause to achieve the goal. That is a hard one. Because that means when I want to get you, I won't get you. That means that as an adult, that police officer that disrespected me, but I got a goal, so I cannot attack him as a person. I will accept suffering without retaliation for the sake of the cause. What's the cause? I need peace in the community. I need police and community engagement. What's the goal? The beloved community is always the goal. It's the end goal. It's the framework for the future. That beloved community that has police officers, that has youth, that has adults, that have older, that have younger, that have black, that have white, that have every race of color. That is the beloved community, that we come back to the place of humanity, that respect for life, respect for one another. And so I will accept that suffering without retaliation. The hardest principle to teach in community where authority has consistently done what is wrong. Credibility of this principle depends on whether the adults around children are living it. See, it's not about what you say. Are you living it so that that aroma of what you live, they can pick up the scent. And I must say that a lot of us are stinky at this point. We ain't living nothing. It smells a foul smell. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth.
No, don't you dare apologize, bro. Don't you dare apologize.
Our children only could do what they repeat what they see.
Oh.
What they see.
You know, the truth sometimes never needs to be said sorry for.
But I'm just saying, because some people are so, they get offended. And I know, hey. I want the foundation of anything I say is from the premise of love. Jesus corrected people out of love. He did. Even with the money changer. I mean, he never listened. One of the techniques that I've learned as being a follower of Christ, hoping to earn the title of a Christian. See, a lot of us just took the title, but you didn't earn it. And that's why there's no merit to it.
Speak it.
All right? There's no merit. I'm a follower of Christ, hoping to earn the title of a Christian. Okay? It's an earned position. But when we approach situations, I have a formula that I call ACE. Affirm, confront, and encourage. All right? And so there's a method to this. Jesus had his arms open. At the end of the day, I'm going to deal with you. But guess what? My arms are open to embrace you, because I want to really see you turn around. Come on and talk to me, man. I want to see. So that's why when Dr. King told them, don't celebrate when we won or we were successful in the movement. It's not about, we beat y'all. No, sir. Because one of the beautiful things about this man was that he was able to address the oppressor in such a way that reconciliation was possible when we got done. But if I call you a pig, if I call you a cracker, if I call you white, if I call you an evil thug or whatever, guess what the opportunity for me to embrace after we solved the outside issue, when we resolved it. That's why reconciliation and resolution are different. Reconciliation says that we reconcile back to the humanity, respect for each other if we never had a relationship. Reconciliation leaves the possibility of us engaging in healthy relationship. Resolution only takes care of the exterior experience. Reconciliation says possibility, and hopefully we'll come back to humanity that we can respect and love each other. Dr. King was masterful at that, being able to address his opponent in a way that he framed the issue and not attack the person. Was able to do that. So at the end of the day, that now let us see how we will never go back here again. Let us have a relationship so that we can have healthy conversation and engagement if it ever comes about. So we have to understand that the goal in mind is that for children, moral courage looks like not joining the group, standing up for the bullied, choosing school over the streets. That's what that looks like for children. That you have others that will be able to do that. It's peer to peer. What we want to do, we want young practitioners of nonviolence. Right now, I'm working on building youth to work with youth. Not adults work with youth. That's fine. We're going to get them going. But the goal is reflective, that a youth is more impactful to another youth. You have young practitioners practicing nonviolence with each other. So those are things that, so again, that know and do what is right, even when it's difficult, that's courageous. That's the place that we have to be.
Bounce back to what I said about the truth, man. And no apology is necessary, because if the truth hurts, then change.
Yes, sir.
Then change. That's all it does, it force you to change. So there's no apology needed for that. The next one I want to go to is avoid harming the spirit and the body of yourself and others.
The adult version, I believe, is avoid internal violence of the spirit as well as physical violence. So the internal violence of the spirit is something that is not seen on the outside, because we have three things. Violence to the Kingian nonviolence is spiritual, mental, and physical harm. Those are forms of violence when we talk about violence. So it's spiritual, physical, and mental harm. And so when you talk about violence of the spirit, when your spirit is bruised, when someone said something, some of us are dealing with today, our mothers or fathers might have said, you stupid and you ain't never gonna be nothing. A loved one that you appreciated, that you looked up to, disappointed you and called you out of your name. That's violence of the spirit. That right there breaks your stride. And that's trauma that you carry on in your life. When you have someone you look up to, or one that's supposed to affirm you, really, in other words, dehumanizes you and makes you feel other than great. That's violence of the spirit. And so how do we avoid that? How do we keep that? Violence is not only physical, the most lasting damage, like I said, is always a spiritual. When a child witnessed violence, something breaks that no surgery can repair. Teaching this principle means building empathy as a discipline, not just a feeling. Words, wounds, exclusive wounds, neglect wounds, are not just fists and bullets. So words are damaging. And so we got to be careful with our words, and we got to know what self-care is also. You got to take care of yourself. You got to have a peaceful moment. For me, I love to read. Here you got a young man that got kicked out. As a matter of fact, in Hill House High School, in 1970 something, I forgot the year, I was the first young man to get caught with a gun in school. And after the teacher at Cross High School got killed by somebody that I knew, they arrested him and gave him time. After that, they said anybody that get caught in school with a weapon will be expelled permanently and put in jail, as an example. And so here you got me, where I am right now, and where my life began back then in school. In the 10th grade, I got arrested, put in jail, and I had to get my GED. And when they put me out, I couldn't read or write. I did not have the skill to do none of that. And now, because of the grace of God, because of my consistency and what I have now desired to be an example for others, that reading is my utopia. Reading is my peace. I got over 500 books on my phone, and then my wife. I know she was. I had all these books. I got stacks of books. You see, and so you got to find that thing that gives you comfort. You got to make sure you do self-care. You have to, because this work is not easy. This ain't, again, I nothing against intellectuals or those that have degrees and all of that stuff. I think that's a beautiful thing. I think we got to continue to encourage our kids to do that, to strive towards that. This is a little different. Working with a community and working with people that don't know nothing about that. This is hard work. This is beyond the PhD. This is beyond the bachelor's degree. This is beyond the paycheck. This hard work. And hard work has the ability to go deep and pick up some stuff that you never got healed from. And so you got to make sure that you do self-care. You got to make sure you're honest with yourself. Avoid that internal violence of the spirit, because it's going to stir up some old wounds. It's going to stir up some old wounds because you're giving people your all in all. You're giving them yourself. And when you give of yourself spiritually, when you give of yourself emotionally, it opens you up to stuff that you might not have never dealt with. So you got to do self-care.
Pastor John Lewis, I can't really say thank you enough. I really can't. I know what I do want to say, man, and I've said this to you already. I want you back because you spoke of what happened when you was in school with the weapon. Yes. And we do a segment here, Up From the Ashes. And you gave some of it already, man, but you have such a story to tell where God has basically moved you from here to there. And that's the premise of Up From the Ashes. So, yes, so that. we I don't care what I got to do, man. We're going to get you back here to tell that and back for some others. But I mean, what you just basically enlightened us with was so powerful. And thank you just doesn't cover it. It really doesn't. So I'm not even going to say any more of that, man. I'm just going to allow you to take us out, and that would be it.
Well, to God be the glory. I thank God for the opportunity. I thank God for you, sir, and continue on to do the work that you're doing, because this means something. You never know who this is reaching or who this is going to touch. Again, everybody wants to be on the pulpit. The pulpit was designed for those that come into these four walls, and that's all well fine. But the real work is out in the community. So I say to everyone that's listening to this, just saying hi to a young person, or saying that have a great day to somebody that you know that might be just going through something. It doesn't mean that, you have to go buy them dinner. If you want to do that, do that. Don't mean you got to give them money. If you want to do that, do that. But words carry a long way. They go a long way. And you saying it sincerely makes a difference. So I encourage every leader, every pastor, everyone that is wanting to make a difference in our community or in the world, let us do this. Let us come together, unify together, and make a difference, and especially in such a time as this. God bless y'all.
Thank you, sir. God loves you. I love you too. We'll get together real soon. Take care of yourself.
Yes, sir. Blessings.